going to have a quick look at medical record movements. So we're just going to jump straight into a scenario with this one. Okay, so Brenda has now been given the extra responsibilities at the practice, and she now supports with managing the medical records there. So what will Brenda need to have in order to carry out these tasks? Okay, so the first thing she's going to need to do is find the user administrator at the practice, i.e. the main contact. So she'll need to speak to the main contact about getting access to PCSE online. And she's also going to need to have the records movement admin role assigned to her in PCSE online so she can see all the required fields and information when she logs on to be able to manage those movements of records. She can check the PCSE website for more information because we've got lots of user guides and things like that on there. She can even check the PCSE YouTube channel because we've got videos and things. But yeah, there's lots of self-help out there because obviously she's new to the process, so she needs to familiarise herself with something, then she can do that. Just one thing I wanted to mention actually about when someone's being given a new role in PCSE online. So say like if Brenda is given the role today, and she logs into PCSE online and she sees that it's not there, we do ask that she allows 24 hours for that role to show in her account. A lot of the time it does come up more or less straight away, but sometimes there is a bit of a delay and it can take around 24 hours. So only contact us if it's gone past the 24-hour mark. Okay, so now Brenda has that responsibility. She's noticed that one of her patients called Gina doesn't seem to have the medical records from her previous practice. Okay, so what could this mean? Now, it could mean that the previous practice have not released the physical medical record, and it may also mean that the GP to GP transfer may have failed. So what does Brenda need to do then? So if Brenda logs into PCSE online, she can check the records in list and search for the NHS number, and that will give her a status update on there. She can contact PCSE using the online inquiry form, selecting the urgent medical record tile. PCSE will then contact the previous practice and ask them to release the record. PCSE do just request, if you ever do get any requests from an urgent medical record request, that you send those records off to the practice that are waiting for them as soon as possible. There isn't anything that PCSE can do other than ask the practice to move that record across. So we do get a lot of queries from practices where they haven't received the record, but it is just simply because the previous practice haven't released them. So we do just ask that if you do get the request, please do send them on so it doesn't impact on patient care and things like that. Okay, so Gina has now decided to move house and she is relocating to Scotland, meaning that Brenda will need to ensure that Gina's medical records follow her. So Brenda will need to print out a full summary of her medical record and she'll need to send that to Gina's new practice using the City Sprint delivery service. That's because the GP to GP transfer won't work because she's moving to a home nation. Now, with Brenda being new, she might not know how to identify that a patient has registered with the home nation's practice and she needs to print off the full record. So what she'll need to do is keep an eye out for the transit label that has been sent into the practice. So as you can see on screen, that there are just some examples of what it'll look like with a home nation label. So it'll say SCO for Scotland, CLD for Wales, and NI for Northern Ireland. The label may say ARC, which is ARC, which means that the record will be going into PCSE storage. Again, that would mean that the full record would need printing off and sending with the next City Sprint delivery. Now, we also strongly advise that when you are sending any records, that you don't send any CDs, USBs, and don't email the records to anybody. Now, the reason why we say don't send any CDs, etc., is number one, they can be damaged in transit, they can be easily corrupted, leading to a loss of data, and not all organisations will have access to CDs, USBs, and things like that. And they wouldn't always recommend that they put a foreign CD into a clinical system just because it might not be safe to do so. It may even be password protected and things like that. And then essentially it means that staff are left with no medical record. So print the record off, and then send that out with your next sprint delivery. So some boarding practices may be used to this kind of scenario. If practices doesn't receive the full record, then you'll need to send that at a later date anyway. Okay, so just having a look at the summary then for the movement of medical records. So PCSE online access is required, and the main contact will assign that role. And the role needed is the records movement admin role. If you have a missing medical record, you can contact PCSE for support, and you can do so using the online inquiry form that's on the PCSE website. If a patient is transferring to a home nation, a GP practice will need to print out the summary record because the GP to GP transfer doesn't work for those type of record movements. And as I've just mentioned, only paper records can be sent. Please do not send any CDs or USBs and things like that. So that's everything for medical record movements.